Good morning, students. We shall continue with the poem, The Television. In the last part, we saw the poet asking the parents what were the children doing before the television was invented. And he gives them the answer. You know it, of course. He says they were reading books. They were reading and reading and reading. Right? Half their lives they spent reading books. Books everywhere. In the nursery, in the bedroom, by the bed, and so on. More books waiting to be read. And then he gives us a variety of themes based on which the books are written. He says, such wondrous, fine, fantastic tales of dragons, of gypsies, queens and whales, and treasure isles and distant shores, where smugglers rowed with muffled oars, and pirates wearing purple pants, and sailing ships and elephants, and cannibals crouching round the pot, stirring away at something hot. It smells so good, what can it be? Good gracious, it is penny up. The younger ones had Beatrice Potter with Mr. Todd the dirty rotter, and Squirrel lurking, piggling bland, and Mrs. Twiggy Winkle, and just how the camel got his hum, and how the monkey lost his drum, and Mr. Toad, and bless my soul, there is Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole. Oh, books! What books they used to know, those children living long ago. Alright? So, he gives a variety of books. There is something for everybody, right? The tiny tots to the adults, everything, based on all kind of themes. The stories of dragons, fantastic tales, imaginative tales, beautiful tales. It says on a variety of things, of dragons, the stories of dragons, of gypsies. I told you they are the wandering tribes, nomadic tribes. Queens and whales and treasure islands, stories of treasure islands. For instance, Louis Stevenson has written The Treasure Island. Okay, that was a very popular novel for instance. And of distant shores, people traveling to distant lands, voyaging to stories of voyages undertaken, Odyssey, for instance. Alright? So we have travels, people traveling to the main way of traveling was through the sea, and they used to take adventurous voyages. And then we come across, it says, the next line, where the smugglers rode with muffled oars. Smugglers, people who were taking contraband goods, smuggling things, and therefore they are rowing their boats using oars that are muffled, muted, silent, quiet, because they are secretly carrying away contraband goods. Alright? Then, look at this alliterative line, the next line, which is so attractive. With pirates wearing purple hands. And then you have the stories of pirates. And what kind of pants are they wearing? Purple pants. Alright? So the P is repeated when we have the case of alliteration. So you have tales of pirates. Tales of pirates in purple pans, and sailing ships and elephants. Alright? Then sailors traveling on ships, and stories of people journeying on the back of the elephant. Alright. And then you have cannibals crouching round a pot. Cannibals crouching round the pot. Apparently, these cannibals. What are these cannibals? Cannibals are humans who eat their own kind. Alright? Humans who eat its own kind. Alright? Humans who eat humans. We have such tales we have tales of headhunters, we have tales of the certain tribes who used to eat human flesh. Okay. Now apparently these cannibals are boiling something in a pot, and everybody is crouching around it, sitting around it. Alright? Okay? They are all sitting around, they are sitting around it, around the pot that is boiling, and then stirring away at something hot. Apparently they are cooking something in the pot, and therefore they are stirring it. They are moving the portion that is in the pot. Alright. Then apparently the poet presumes he is one of those observing this, and he says, it smells so good, what can it be? The poet imagines that he is one of the observers, and as he observes, he gets curious to know what are these cannibals cooking. It smells so good. Nice smell is coming from the pot, so it should be some delicious meal they are cooking. Good gracious, it's Penelope. Good gracious is an expression of surprise. Surprisingly, it is Penelope being cooked. That smells so good. Now Penelope is a mythical character, right? Apparently eaten by the cannibals. That's what the poet wants to say. So he explains cannibals are people who eat other human beings. And one such victim was Penelope. And so the poet goes near to find out what these cannibals are cooking in the pot, and he discovers that it's a Penelope being cooked, and it smells so good. Okay. Then in the Greek mythology, there is the story of Penelope, who was a young maiden, but there were so many chieftains of Troy who were after her, attracted to her beauty. They are referred to as cannibals as well. So that reference is there as well. But here, I guess what the poet means to say is that they are basically cannibals are humans that eat other human beings, and apparently a human is being cooked there, but it smells so good. Alright. The younger ones had Beatrix Potter. So I told you there is something for everyone. So these were stories for grown-ups, a little grown-ups, or adolescents and such group, teenagers who would engage in who would be very much interested in stories of pirates and smugglers and cannibals and so on. But then for the younger ones, the nursery kids, for instance, the younger ones had Beatrix Potter. She was a British novelist, writer, story writer, and who wrote her stories mainly for children, and most of her characters were animals. with animals as a characters, and she also illustrated her novels with the pictures of such characters as a Peter Rabbit. And in the story of Peter Rabbit, we have, for instance, the squirrel named Nutkin and the pigling named Bland, all these characters with their illustrations, with their pictures also in the book. So, the younger children had something written by Beatrix Potter. So, here is an example, another example of a synecdoche. The figure of speech, synecdoche. Where is that? Synecdoche, where the part is used for the hall, for the part. Now, Beatrix Potter is the novelist, the story writer who wrote, so all her works are included. Beatrix Potter means all the books that was written by Beatrix Potter. In which, so it is referring to all her books, and therefore we have a case of Beatrix Potter standing for the whole volume of books that she has written, and therefore we have an instance of synecdoche. Alright. So, the one with the characters such as Mr. Toad, the dirty Rota. Rota is a very mean person or a cruel person. Rota means a mean, cruel or unkind person. Alright? Mean, cruel or unkind person. A dirty Rota, that was Mr. Toad. And Squirrel Nutkin. So naturally squirrels are very fond of nuts. And that could be the reason why she chose the name Nutkin. Alright? And then you have Pigling. Pigling is the small of a pig. And what was his quality? He was bland. Bland means unemotional. Who was no feelings whatsoever. And then there he talks about and Mrs. Twiggy Winkle and so these are some of the characters in the stories that I said they were all animal characters and so on. And then you also had stories such as just how the camel got his hump. How the camel got his hump. It is a story written by Rudyard Kipling. Alright? Rudyard Kipling wrote this story. Kipling also wrote for children, and one of the stories that he wrote was how the camel got his hump. Alright? And what is this hump? Hump is a rounded protuberance that you find at the back of a camel. Alright? A rounded protuberance that you find at the back of a camel. So how the camel got his hump. And how the monkey lost his rump. What's the rump? The hind part of a mammal. The hind part of a mammal. So it could also go to mean how the monkey lost his tail, or how the tail of the monkey became shorter in size. Alright? Okay. So so that is how the projection at the back was lost. Okay. How he lost his hind part. Hind part, that is back portion of his. And Mr. Toad, and bless my soul, there's Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole. Toad is another of those creatures like a frog. but it's quite a repulsive thing. When it is touched, it emits a kind of a white liquid, alright, something like the color of milk, right? So that is its self-defense when it attacks. So the toad was also considered to be poisonous. Alright, and then bless my soul is again another expression of astonishment, surprise. Okay, and he says, bless my soul. There is Mr. Rat and Mr. Mole. The rat, we are familiar with the rodent, and these are all animal characters. And such stories with the characters, instead of humans having animals, we call such stories fables. Alright? Fables, for instance. F-A-B-L-E-S. Fables. Fables are stories with the animals as characters. But they behave like humans. They have all the attributes, the qualities of human beings. They can speak, they can feel, they can fight with each other, they can feel hurt, angry, pain, and all human emotions, feelings, and capabilities are given to them. Okay, so we are familiar with the rat, the rodent, and then Mr. Mole. Now, mole is a burrowing mammal. Alright? It's a burrowing mammal, and it's got a long muzzle. It's got a long muzzle, and it looks somewhat similar to a rat. But what distinguishes it is a long muzzle that is used for a burrowing hole under the ground. It leaves on worms and such other creatures under the earth. So, books. What books they used to know those children living long ago. And the poet just is astonished, looking back at those days of education. Those days of education where, so you consider, those were the days of education, where the children used to educate themselves by reading books. They were not wasting their time sitting in front of an idiot box. Right? So those were wonderful days, he says, where the children used to enjoy reading books. Okay. The next line onwards, the poet, having said the wonders of reading books, now he proceeds to conclude. So conclude the poem by again, once again he is repeating that initial plea to the parents. He's begging the parents, he's pleading with the parents. What does he plead? He says, so please, oh please, we beg, we pray. See, look at the expression he used. So he begs, he pleads, then he begs, and then he says, we pray. Who is he praying? Who is he begging? Who is he telling, please? Go to the parents. Go throw your TV set away. And in its place, you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. He says, so he pleads with the parents, throw away that idiot box, that TV set. Alright? And in its place, install a beautiful, a lovely bookshelf. He's pleading with the parents, ignoring all the books, and then fill the shelves with lots of books, ignoring all the dirty looks, the screams and yells, the bites, and so on, he says. So, what does he say? ignoring all the dirty looks that your children will give. Alright? What you should do is, you should install a bookshelf. And having installed a bookshelf, fill it with lots and lots of books. And then he says, there shall be a lot of reaction from the children. Children shall give you dirty looks. Children shall give you dirty looks. Ignore it. Let them give you a dirty look. And they might scream and yell at you. They shall shout and scream at you for removing the television set and in its place, replacing it with bookshelves. The bites and kicks, right? So they shall become violent at this sudden change of throwing away the TV set or the television set and replacing it with the books. Reaction shall come from the children, but you ignore them. First they'll give you dirty looks, then they shall shout and scream at you, and then they bite and kick you. So they may not physically do it on you, but they shall kick maybe the table around, supposing it is you, but all these kicks are meant for you. All these bites are meant for you. Alright? And the children hitting you with sticks. And the children shall hit anything they find, expressing their anger towards the parents. It doesn't literally mean that the children shall start beating their parents. Doesn't mean. It's a psychological way of sublimating your feelings. When you are angry with a person and you are not in a position to hit him, you hit the wall. Alright? When you cannot beat a person because he is older than you, you would thrash a pillar, for instance. These are all ways of expressing your anger, expressing your frustration, and so on. So in the same way, the children shall react, showing all these kind of feelings. They will hit objects with the sticks. And these sticks are meant for whom? For you parents. They cannot hit you directly, therefore they are hitting those objects. It says, fear not, because we promise you that in about a week or two of having nothing else to do, they will now begin to feel the need of having something to read. Children shall react, and when the children react, they give you dirty looks. They shall scream and yell at you. They shout and scream at you. And the bites and kicks, do not be afraid of their bites and kicks. So they show their anger physically, not directly biting you, but they shall bite objects, they shall kick objects. So this is a psychological way of getting out your anger. Alright? So when you cannot literally hit back a person, in spite of being so angry, your immediate reaction is to hit the wall, for instance. Or when you cannot beat a person with sticks, you beat the pillow. Alright? So these are some of the ways of, this is called sublimation or substitution. So this is a way of getting out their anger, presuming, and in their head, who are they hitting? In their mind, who are they hitting? Their parents. Why? Because they have deprived the children of the television set. Okay. Fear not, because we promise you, this shall happen. the reaction from children shall happen, but we assure you, we promise you, we can guarantee you that in about a week or two of having nothing else to do, they will now begin to feel the need of having something to read. So this reaction are going to be short-lived. They are not lasting. They shall last only for a brief period. How long? Maybe a week or two. It's a very, very brief period, very short lived. Alright? So that's a very short duration. This reaction shall pass. And what will happen of having nothing else to do when they find themselves so bored because they have nothing to amuse themselves with, nothing to do, then what shall eventually happen? They now begin to feel the need of having something to read. Alright? They shall realize that they need to read books. They shall turn to books. The children who are addicted to TV viewing, now they shall turn to books, to reading. He says, they feel the need of having something to read. They feel the need of having books to read. And once they start, oh boy, he says, what a wonderful thing this could be. Once they begin to read, there's not going to be an end of it. It's not going to end. Their interest, their excitement shall go on increasing, growing rapidly rather. And he says, and they want to say, oh boy, that's that's an expression of amazement, of wonder, surprise. That he says, you watch the slowly growing joy that fills their hearts. So you shall watch, you shall observe. The children have become joyful with reading books, and joy fills their hearts. Now they are not bored anymore. They are not gloomy. They are not sullen. They are not reacting as before. But you'll find, instead of anger, instead of frustration, all those, you will find joy filling their hearts. Joy filling their hearts. The children will have become jolly, happy, merry. Right? They'll grow so keen, they'll wonder what they've ever seen in that ridiculous machine. You see? That ridiculous machine. Another reference to television. See? He has all kind of disgusting words to show his disgust towards television. And here he calls it a ridiculous machine. What is ridiculous? Absurd. Foolish. He has called it earlier the idiotic box, the monster. Now he is calling it the foolish machine, the ridiculous machine. Once the children start reading books, what would they realize? They will have become so keen. Keen means sharp. What has become sharp? Their mind. See, what has happened to the mind when they were reading books? Their mind was clogged and cluttered. Clogged and cluttered. Alright? This clogged and cluttered mind has now become sharp, keen, perceptive. They see, they become very observant. And now what had happened to their thinking? their thinking, they had become, their thinking capacity was frozen. It was rusted. Their thinking was frozen and rusted. Now you will find, now they will start wondering. They will start thinking. Alright? And what would they think? What were they doing all this while? Watching such a ridiculous machine, such a foolish, such an absurd, such an idiotic machine. So they have become so sharp, now they can reason out, and they start reasoning out how they have been wasting their time watching this idiot box. And he calls it further. It's not only an absurd machine, but it's a nauseating, foul, unclean, repulsive television screen. See the adjectives that he uses to describe the television set. He says it is nauseating. Nauseating is something that causes nausea in you. Nausea is the feeling as if you are going to throw up, or as if you feel like vomiting at the sight of something. Foul. Foul means dirty, obscene. Dirty or obscene. Alright? Dirty or obscene. Alright? Then you have also unclean. Unclean. Alright? Absurd, foolish, unclean. Again another word for dirty. Right? And repulsive. Similar to, repulsive is similar to nauseating. So you can put it as disgusting. Alright? Something that makes your stomach turn. The very sight of it. Something that you hate to see. Alright? So repulsive, so nauseating television screen. So they shall start questioning. Once they start reading books, they shall start questioning the uselessness of a television screen. And how they have been foolish to watch or to sit in front of the television screen. And later, each and every kid will love you more and more for what you did. And later on, what will happen to these children who initially reacted by giving dirty looks and hitting or crying and screaming at you, shouting and screaming at you, and beating with the sticks and so on, expressing their temper, expressing their anger. Now these children shall tend to be very grateful to you. They shall love you more than ever before. And why would they love you more than ever before? Because of what you did. You removed that idiot box, and instead of that you put a bookshelf in their rooms, and this made them get into the habit of reading books and enhancing their knowledge. And the children are going to be eternally grateful to you for this act that you did. And they shall love you more than ever before for this particular act of throwing away that television set and putting in bookshelves everywhere. Right? So such a lovely poem that basically describes the importance of reading books and the uselessness or worthlessness of watching cheap television programs. Is that clear? And initially I told you there are a number of themes. First and foremost, I told you that the themes. Once again, let's revise the themes. First and foremost, we'll say consider TV as an idiot box. Alright? In other words, it is not meant for intelligent people. It shall convert you into an idiot. Go on watching too many TV programs, you become a dull child. Alright? Your thinking capacity is lost, your mind rots, and your power of imagination disappears. All this happened to you. And you become a dull child. And the second theme obviously is it is the death of imagination. Because he says you have lost your capacity of imagining. Your capacity to fantasize is lost. You cannot travel into that imaginary world of fairies and elves, for instance. You cannot create a fairyland in your mind. For that you need the imaginative capacity. We have lost that power of imagination. Okay. And thirdly, and most importantly, the importance of reading books. Alright? The importance of reading books. We have seen that as well. And then a number of examples I gave in the book earlier as well. Now let's see, one of the things I think I left out was here. You have, for instance, all these area where you have Beatrix Potter and then all these characters that come in. So there is a particular figure of speech. Look at these lines. Okay. One of them that I left out was this particular portion where we have a reference to Beatrix Potter, then we have a Pennylock, Mr. Todd, and Squirrel Nutkin, Pigling Bland, Mrs. Twiggy Wingle, how the camel got his hump, how the monkey lost his rump. And then we have Mr. Rat, Mr. Mole, and so on. Alright? Now these are all references to works of literature or art. So such references, it can be references to characters in literature. Characters in literature, it could be to authors or writers. Authors in the case of Beatrix Potter. She was a children's writer for children. Now all these things, all these are referring to other works of literature, alright, or characters in literature, alright. Mr. Todd, Pennyloaf, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, and them. So these are all characters. Then you have works in literature. How the Camel Got His Hump by Rudyard Kipling. So that's the name of a book. Alright? So work of literature. All these are known as a figure of speech allusion. Okay? What is an allusion? Allusion is a reference to a character or a work of literature or art. Okay? That means reference to other books or reference to other authors, writers of the book, or reference to characters in another writer's book or events in another book. All these are the name of some books. They all come under the category of allusion. Allusion basically therefore is a reference to any work of art or a literature. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. So I guess that is about the poem, the television, right? So we have completed it. It was a very long poem, but finally we have finished with it. Alright? Okay. So until we meet in the next class, it's goodbye.